Well, the Great Wheel of Time rewatch continues. This time we're going to look at my thoughts and things I missed the first few times while watching episode 2 of the Wheel of Time, Shadows Waiting. As far as spoilers are concerned, obviously this is a rewatch of season 1 of the Wheel of Time TV show, so spoilers for the entire first season of the Wheel of Time. As far as book spoilers go, I don't actually think I have any specific book plot spoilers in this video, but there are some general character and world building spoilers that I'm going to say go through to the Dragon Reborn. It's hard to say because they aren't really specific spoilers. They're just sort of things we learn about the world and these characters as the story develops. So yeah, if you have watched the entire first season of The Wheel of Time and you've read through to the end of the Dragon Reborn, which is book 3, you are good to go. So let's go.
Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy, babe.
The first thing I want to point out that I missed the first several times around watching this episode is about this gross food that Valda is eating in this cold open. I honestly had no idea what it was and would never have even thought to look, but I learned about it from the Wheel Takes podcast. And I'll just right now, once again, put in a plug for their podcast because it is incredible. They go through all of the, they have episodes about the books as well. They also have episodes about the show. Allie, from the podcast, she works in television, so they are breaking down the episodes from somebody who's in the business, their perspective, and it's fantastic. Check them out. Great podcast. But okay, this food that Valda is eating, it's called an Orderland, I think is how you pronounce it, or Orderland Bunting. It is a small songbird that is killed and cooked in a very, very cruel way. And because of the cruelty involved in the way that it's prepared and killed and stuff, it is tradition to eat this bird with a towel or a napkin covering your head, covering your eyes specifically, to cover your shame over participating in this cruelty. The fact that Valda eats it openly, this is telegraphing something about his character. It's very, very telling. And I have to say, it is a testament to the writing and this actor that even without this information, I got that feeling from this scene already. But knowing this background information just makes it even more rich of a scene. The food he is eating, even the food he is eating here is cruel and he's reveling in it. Now, this food, this ortolan, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but this bird, whatever, is brought to him by a young boy who says, "From the Lord, Captain." He doesn't say "from the Lord, Captain." And I'm sure some of you right now are just thinking that I'm insane because those are the exact same words. But in the books, Lord Captain is a rank among the White Cloaks. But the way the boy says it, it's like he says he is bringing the dish from somebody with the rank of Lord and presenting it to Valda, who has the rank of Captain, instead of bringing it to Valda from someone who has the rank of Lord Captain. Like, basically the young actor here, he inserted a comma between the words Lord and Captain. Even the subtitles have a comma there. Now, this doesn't really mean anything. It could just be a bad line read or whatever. But anyway, I noticed it this time around, and now I'm telling you about it. Now, in this scene where Valda is like pawing at the Aes Sedai's face, he says, I'm just going to quote him here, "An Aes Sedai should know above all others that sometimes brutality is the only way to mercy." Now, honestly, I'm not sure why he would be saying this, but in the weeks since this episode came out, I've seen people floating the theory that perhaps Valda in the show was able to channel, and so he was gentled by Aes Sedai. Which, when, like, having heard that theory and then rewatching this episode, this particular line jumped out at me because it fits with that theory. No idea if the theory's true, but it is interesting. Okay, the next thing I want to say, this is not something I noticed this time around, but I don't think I've mentioned it on my channel before, so here goes. We see here Moraine sink the Taran ferry, and Hightower then throws himself in the water after and he goes down with the ferry. Then, later on, okay, so episode 6, we hear Maigan, who's the head of the Blues, say that she knows that an Aes Sedai, meaning Moraine, sank the Taran ferry, which, like, how? Did Hightower survive this? obviously he didn't. He couldn't have, right? That's impossible. But then how did word get to Megan about what happened here? There was no one around to see it. I have brought this up in discussions on my Discord, and the one possible theory that someone presented was that perhaps a dark friend heard about the sinking of the ferry from a Myrddraal, and that information somehow made its way back to Megan. And I'm gonna have to take that as an explanation because no other explanation works in my brain. This doesn't mean, by the way, that I think that Megan is a dark friend or anything. It's just that her eyes and ears somehow would have tapped into this information. And that's possible. So, okay. Now I have to address something that I said in my last rewatch video. I said in that video that the second cold open to episode 1 is the only time we see someone channeling without visible weaves. And multiple people pointed out that in episode 3 and also episode 7, we see Rand channel without visible weaves. And okay, this is my bad, really, because I had a logic in my head that I didn't say out loud. I don't know why. I should have. I don't know, assumed that you can somehow read my mind, but okay. Because obviously everybody was very, very right about that. But in my mind, those incidents where Rand channels and we don't see his weaves, they don't count because we do eventually see those weaves. We never see the weaves that Liandrin and the Reds do in the first cold open, or the second cold open of the first episode. But okay, the reason I bring that up now is because I was wrong. Rewatching this episode, we see at least one other incident of channeling that we never see visible weaves for. In this episode, we see Moraine channel to wake Egwene here. Or okay, maybe she isn't channeling, but what else could this gesture she's doing be? It's a very weird gesture to be doing above Egwene's prone body if you aren't channeling, so hopefully she's channeling. And we see this, it's very clear that we're seeing it from Rand's perspective, and there are no visible weaves. I do still think that it is likely that non-book readers haven't quite figured out the rules of who sees what yet, but like I said in my last video, I honestly don't know how important that is for the show, especially not yet. I don't think these rules are clear for us, like, book readers for a while anyway, and I also don't know how into the weeds the show is going to get with the magic system. Okay, moving on anyway. Watching the scene that follows this, particular scene between Moraine and Egwene, this is not a new observation or anything, but holy hell. I'm just going to read you a bit from my notes here. This is the sentence that I wrote. I wrote, how did we get Rosamund Pike? Because she's so good. The way she's holding her body in this moment, like, you could see both that she is injured and in pain, and that she's holding it in. She's so good. Holy hell. But okay, anyway, the scene that happens here is another scene that actually causes me a little bit of confusion. And I knew it was coming, so I paid close attention when I was rewatching it this time. Moraine, when she speaks to Egwene, the language she uses makes it clear that she knows that Egwene can channel. Not that she suspects, she knows, which, that I'm still confused about the rules in the show about how someone knows if another person can channel. Like, if it's just that she's saying that she, like, the knowledge that Egwene can, and is being trained to listen to the wind, if that is what she's using to know that Egwene can channel, then she must also know that Nynaeve can channel, because Nynaeve is the one who is training Egwene, but that's impossible, given the very explicit language she uses in episode 6, so I don't know. Now, there were some comments brought up when I mentioned this before that maybe Moraine was just using, like, really, really slippery Aes Sedai language and Aes Sedai wording, that she might have known that Nynaeve had the innate ability to channel, but didn't know that she could actively channel, but it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't feel right because the wording is so specific and direct. But I have to acknowledge that this might only matter to me because of my book knowledge. I don't know if non-book readers are confused about this, because they have no idea how specific things are supposed to be. Okay, now this moment here, Matt Coffin. Matt is touching a dead bat. 2+ years into this pandemic, Matt, put the bat down, you dumbass. God. But okay, seriously though, I think that actually this is a really good character moment for Matt. He does just pick shit up. Like, later on in the books, and this is a spoiler for later than The Dragon Reborn. I don't remember what book this is, but there are references in the books to Matt just picking up cool rocks and feathers. Like, he sees something interesting, he picks it up, and he puts it in his pocket because he's a kid. Like, he's a child at heart. And I don't know, this feels accurate to me. As much as I'm just like, Pat, put the bat down. As much as that is what's happening in my head, I'm also thinking, yeah, no, that's Matt. Matt does that. Oh, and did you catch this? Lana Moraine, synchronized horse dismount. Nice. Okay, once again, I'm going to talk about the awesomeness of Rosamund Pike. And this is also not at all a new observation, but I love the way she plays this interaction with the White Cloaks. The moment is specifically when she says, with a mouth like a boar, like, oh, it's so good. I love this whole thing. For some reason, this rewatch, I found myself paying attention to the White Cloak uniforms, specifically their arm thingies, the things on their arms. I don't know what they're called, but whatever. Anyway, this is my theory. No idea if I'm right, but I think the questioners are the ones that have the silver arm thingy, and the regular White Cloaks have the gold arm thingies. I don't know, but I was paying attention when they split off to try and see if there was some uniformity in that, and that's what I picked up on, but you don't see everybody, so I don't know. I'm not 100% certain on this. The weep for Manetheren speech. Oh, okay, for the third time in this video. Holy hell, Rosamund Pike. I do not think this scene would have worked with a lesser actor. You needed someone who could keep you in the moment while she's literally just telling a story, and Rosamund Pike just murdered it. It's amazing. But I will also point out, again, for those who missed it the first time around when I mentioned it, this is a pet peeve of mine, and I have to inflict it upon the world, so apologies, but when they're singing the song, Weep for Manetheren, Rand has no rhythm. He taps his leg off beat, and this time around, I noticed that they highlighted it. Not only that they focused the camera on it, they foleyed in the sound of him tapping his leg off rhythm. Why would they do that? Ugh, there was no need. The song, though, is great. The song is fantastic. I hum it to myself all the time. And if you watch the X-Ray, there's one point where they sing more lyrics to the song. And so now I have 2 verses of the official Weep for Manetheren song in my head, and it makes me so happy. Later on, when they are gathering wood, Rand and Egwene are gathering wood, you can... That sounded dirty. Didn't mean it to sound dirty. They are literally picking up bits of fallen tree to make fire. Not anything else. But whatever. You can see that Rand's coat is dirty at the seams. And I'm pointing this out because I noticed it this time, just because one of the things that you just saw so much in the comments about, like, not just on my videos, but just all over the place, is that people were commenting on how clean everyone was and how that was unrealistic. First of all, it's not. Humans generally do not like being dirty. Even humans in the past did not like walking around caked in mud and dirt and grime all the time. People typically like to be clean. Plus, us book readers, we know that this isn't the past. But secondly, they are dirty when appropriate, and this is an incident of that. He's been traveling for a while, he's been sleeping on the ground, his coat has gotten dirty. There. Alright, so this next thing I realized on this rewatch. Alright, this scene where the wolves lick Perrin's wound and then they run off, we hear the beginning of Perrin's, what I'm assuming is going to be his theme in the show. It's called, let me just check my notes, it's called Al-Karsai, which translates to Golden Eyes, so this is definitely Perrin's theme, I guess. And it's a banger, like it's a really, really good song. Lorne Balfe, who's the composer, he's a genius. The music for the show is fantastic. What I realized on this rewatch is weird. It's something I should have picked up on earlier because I have listened to, like, the entire song before, like, not just the snippet that plays in this episode. I've listened to the entire song before, and I've listened to other songs from this soundtrack, but I didn't put it together until this rewatch. His song has no lyrics. All the other sort of character theme songs I can think of from the soundtrack, they all have lyrics in the old tongue. Perrin's is just music. And that is so appropriate. I can't even stand it. Oh, I love this show. I love this show, man. Now, when they enter Shadar Logoth, if you look around, there is black dust everywhere. And that is very, very disturbing because we know, based on what happened to this poor horse, we know what that black dust is. But what I noticed this time around, when they go into this building, there is no black dust inside. Which, like I said, this time around, it made me wonder, if they had just stayed inside and not gone wandering around the city, would they have been safe? Was it just the fact that they happened to be outside because the kids were, being idiots? They happened to be outside when darkness fell. Is that what caused all the problems? It's just a thought, but like there was a distinct lack of black dust inside this building, so if they had just stayed inside and waited the night out, would they have been okay? Safety railings! No safety railings! I've talked about this before because it drove me crazy. Like, I talked about it in the trailer, when the trailers dropped. It's not just here in Shadar Logoth. We see it later on in Tar Valon. There is a distinct lack of safety railings, and it bloody terrifies me. But if you look at this scene, there are safety railings just on a different building, which it's a lower building. And okay, so what we know now is that people in these cities, they knew about the concept of safety railings, but they just put them in randomly. Like, they were like, okay, this building gets safety railings, but this building, no safety for you. Like, who knows? And the final thing that I noticed this time around was that Mashadar seems to like people more than horses. It ate that first horse when there were no people around, but then people came out and it starts seeking out the people. And then when the people run away, it fades back. The horses are still there. They could still eat them, but it doesn't kill the horses. It pursues, like actively pursues the humans. So I guess there's some, I don't know, level of consciousness, or at least just a hunger for maybe a deeper soul. I don't know. But whatever, it's interesting, and it kind of answers a question that was noodling around in the back of my head about how the horses managed to survive. And that's it. That's the end of my rewatch notes for episode 2. How about you? Do you have any new observations that you've picked up on or thought while you were rewatching the series? I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you've been rewatching. But if you do, let me know in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, you can always check out my Patreon. I have it on good authority that all of my patrons, each and every one, when they ask you how you're doing, they actually care about the answer. They're just all awesome people. And I adore them all. And I say this every single time, but I'm so grateful for your support. And with that, I will end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!